Hi, and welcome to Mrs. PM Reads. We are continuing in The Magic Circle by Katherine Neville. And sorry, I bumped the table. In our last video, we were in 1989, and Ariel was at home in a snowstorm, and she couldn't get down her driveway. She stepped out of the car, grabbed the mill, fell through the snow, dragged herself back out of the snow, threw on her cross-country skis, and made it down to her apartment, just in time to grab the phone. Her dad had been trying to call her to find out about the manuscripts. Apparently, her grandmother has written some coded diaries, and they were Sam's. When her grandmother passed, they became Sam's, and Sam has passed, and now they are hers, or will be when they arrive. All right, so we are now at still 1989, still same time. The section is titled The Knot. So it says, Alexander, finding himself unable to untie the Gordian knot, the ends of which were secretly twisted round and folded up within it, cut it asunder with his sword. And that was by Plutarch. And it says, the secret of the Gordian knot seems to have been a religious one, probably the ineffable name of Dionysus, a knot cipher tied in the rawhide thong. Alexander's brutal cutting of the knot when he marshaled his army at Gordium for the invasion of Greater Asia ended an ancient dispensation by placing the power of the sword above that of religious mysteries. Robert Graves, in the book or paper, The Greek Myths. All right. Sorry, I don't have a lot of space here. That's why I'm turning to the side to turn the page. I'm afraid if I do it in front of us, I'll bump the computer. Anyway, all right. So Ariel is wondering what could have been in those diaries that got Sam killed. It was nearly 3 a.m. when I turned on the taps of the big claw-footed tub, praying that the pipes hadn't frozen, and watched with relief as the hot water splashed into the bath. I dumped in some salts and liquid bubbles, stripped, and climbed in. The tub was so deep the water went up to my nose, and I blew the bubbles away. Lathering up my road-wrecked hair, I knew I had lots of thinking to do, but my brain was engaged in fuzzy logic, not surprising, given the week's events and the trauma of my trip home. As I soaked there, the bathroom door swung open on squeaky hinges, and Jason came strolling in unannounced, which probably meant Oliver, my landlord, had also returned. Jason barely gave me a glance with those penetrating green eyes. He sauntered over and regarded with disdain my soggy silk undergarments on the floor. He started to paw at them as though he thought my long johns would make a nice litter box. But I reached over and yanked them out from under him. Oh, no, you don't, I said firmly. Jason jumped up on the wooden rim of the tub, stuck out his paw, and batted at the bubbles. He looked at me inquisitively. This was my hint to douse him. Jason was the only cat I knew that loved water. Any kind of water. It was normal for him to turn on a sink tap to fetch himself a drink. He preferred a toilet to a litter box, and he was known to jump into the Snake River below the falls to retrieve his favorite little red rubber ball. He could swim in current as well as any dog. But this morning, I was too tired to dry him, so I flicked him off the side of the tub, got out, and toweled myself instead. In my big fluffy bathrobe, my hair wrapped in a towel, I padded to the kitchen and heated some water to make myself a hot buttered rum before bed. I picked up a broom and banged on the ceiling to let Oliver know I was back, though my car abandoned on the road should have been his first clue. Dearest one, Oliver's voice soon came floating down the stairway with his recognizable thick Quebecious accent. I snowshoed in from my Jeep, but I wasn't sure it was proper to send the little Argonaut down to you yet. You might be already sleeping. And what about me? Okay, come down and join me in a quick buttered rum before I crash. I called back up, and let me know what's been going on at work. Oliver Maxfield and I had met some 5 years back when we were assigned to a project together. He was a strange amalgam. Nuclear engineer and gourmet chef, devotee of Yankee slang and cowboy bars, an unrepentant Jack Mormon. He'd been born a French-Canadian Catholic in a household devoted to la cuisine française. And now, as a latter-day culinary genius himself, those no alcohol, no caffeine dietary restrictions of the Latter-day Saints hardly mixed with Oliver's nouvelle personnel. The first time he met me, Oliver told me he'd already known I would soon enter his life, for I just appeared as the Blessed Virgin in a dream involving a pinball competition between myself and the prophet Moroni. By the end of the first week that we'd worked together, Oliver received a sign that I should be offered cheap rent to move into his downstairs apartment. The actual pinball machine upon which I, as the Virgin Mary, had beaten the prophet had miraculously appeared as a new acquisition of the cowboy bar down the road from our very office. Perhaps it was the result of my kooky upbringing, but I found Oliver refreshing at a nuclear site stacked with engineers and physicists, all of whom brown bagged their lunches and went home by 5 o'clock so they could watch wholesome TV reruns with their children. I went all the time to parties at the homes of site families. In summers, they barbecued hamburgers and hot dogs in the backyard. In winters, it was spaghetti, salad, and prefab garlic bread in the family room. It was as if no one in this remote high desert had ever heard of any other manner of dining. Oliver, by contrast, had lived in Montreal and Paris and had passed a summer workshop in the south of France with cordon bleu. Though perhaps a tightwad about providing landlordly services such as heat and driveway clearing, he did have assets. While mincing, dicing, mauling, and clarifying butter in his enormous industrial kitchen upstairs to prepare the designer meals he cooked for Jason and me at least once a week, he regaled me with tales of the great chefs of Europe, interspersed with the latest fads of the cowboy bar scene. He was, as the French say, such a one. What was this huge emergency that called you away? Oliver's handsome dimpled smile appeared around the half-open door from the steps as he ran his fingers through his curly mop of brown hair and regarded me with large, dark eyes. Where did you disappear to? The pod was asking after you every day, but I knew nothing. The pod was the widely used nickname of my boss, the director and general manager of the whole nuclear site. It was used behind his back, for though his actual name was Pastor Owen Dart, he wasn't anything but shepherd-like. Indeed, the monogram was recognized also as his description. Pastor Owen Dart, P-O-D, Pod, the Prince of Darkness. Oh, I'd like to argue that this moniker was inappropriate to my boss, but to be perfectly frank, Of the 10,000 employees working at the site, or even among the industry mucky mucks in Washington he hobnobbed with, I was the only one I knew who hadn't been scalded by the man. At least, not yet. The pod seemed genuinely to like me and had handpicked me for my job while I was still in university. As a result of this unexpected affinity, not all my colleagues trusted me. Another reason why Oliver, the dashing Quebecius Mormon gourmet cowboy, was one of my few close friends. Sorry, I said to Oliver, pouring hot water over the mush of brown sugar, butter, and rum in the 2 glass mugs and handing one to him. I had to leave suddenly. There was an unexpected death in the family. Oh, gosh, no one I know, I hope, said Oliver with a gallantly supportive smile, though we both knew that he knew no one in my family. It was Sam, I said, trying to wash down the stick in my throat with the buttery hot liqueur. Heavens, your brother? Said Oliver, sinking onto the sofa near the fire. My cousin, I corrected. Actually, my stepbrother. We were raised as brother and sister. In fact, he's more of a blood brother, he was. Oh my goodness, your family relations are somewhat complex, Oliver said, mocking my own retort anytime anyone inquired about my family. Are you quite certain you were related to this fellow at all? I'm sole heir to his estate, I told him. That's enough for me. Ah, then he was rich, but not really close. Is that it? Oliver said hopefully. A bit of each, I told him. I was probably closer to him than anyone in my family, which wasn't saying much, but Oliver didn't know that. Oh, how dreadful for you, but I don't understand. Why have I never heard of him then, except for the name? He's never been to visit, nor called that I know of, in the many years we've worked together and shared this humble abode. Our family communicates physically, I told him. Jason was slalomingly, you know how you ski, slalom ski. So it's slaloming around my legs as if he were trying to braid a maypole all by himself. So I picked him up and added, we have no need of satellites or cell phones. That reminds me, interrupted Oliver. Your father's been calling here for days. Wouldn't say what he wanted, just that you must phone him at once. Just then, the phone rang, startling Jason, who jumped out of my arms. They must be psychic to pick up on our vibes at this hour, she said. I reached for the phone. He finished his drink and headed for the door. I'll make you some pancakes before work as a welcome home, he tossed over his shoulder. Then he was gone. Gravosh, darling, were the first words I heard as I picked up the phone. Good Lord, maybe my family members had suddenly become psychotic. It was my uncle Laugh, L-A-F. I hadn't heard from him in ages. He always called me Gravosh, French for a Parisian street urchin. Laugh? I said, where are you? You sound a million miles away. Just now, Gravosh, I am in Wayne, meaning he was at his big 18th century apartment overlooking the Hofburg in Vienna, where Jersey and I used to stay, and where it was now 8 hours later than it was here, or 11 a.m. his time. Apparently, Uncle Laugh have never gotten the hang of differing time zones. I'm so sorry, Gravosh, to hear about Sam, he told me. I was wanting to come for the service, but your father, of course. That's okay, I assured him, not wanting to open that can of worms. You were there in spirit, and so was Uncle Ernest, even though he's dead. I found a shaman who did a little ritual at the ceremony. Then the military gave Sam honors, and Jersey fell into the open grave. Your mother fell into the grave? Uncle Laugh said with the enthusiasm of a 5-year-old. Oh, but that is marvelous. Did she plan it, do you think? She was drunk, as usual, I told him, but it was still fun. I wish you could have seen August's face. Now I am really sorry I was not able to attend, Laugh said with more tickled enjoyment than I would have believed a man of his age, pushing 90, could muster. There was no love lost between my father, Augustus, and my uncle, Lafcadio Ben. Perhaps because it was with Laugh, my grandfather's stepson by a previous marriage, that my own grandma Pandora had run off when she'd abandoned my father at birth. This was the thing with my family. We never spoke of it in public or private. Well, at least it was one of the things. It suddenly occurred to me that I could probably make a fortune if I hadn't just inherited one from Sam by designing an entirely new model of complexity theory based solely upon my family's interactions. Uncle Laugh, I said, I want to ask you a question. I know we never talk about the family, but I want you to know that Sam has left everything to me. Gravash, this is just what I expect of him. You are a good girl, and everything good should come to you. I have plenty of comfort on my own. Do not fear me. I'm not worried about you, Laugh, but I want to ask you about something involving the family, something maybe only you know about, something that Sam apparently also left me, not real estate or money. My Uncle Laugh was so silent, I wasn't sure he was still on the line. At last, he spoke. Gravosh, you do understand that international phone calls are recorded. They are? I said, though in my profession I knew it very well. But that doesn't affect our conversation, I added. Gravosh, there is a reason why I called. Uncle laughed in a voice that sounded very different than a moment ago. I regret I could not attend the funeral of Sam, but by coincidences, I will be near you on the next weekend. I will come to the big hotel at the Valley of the Sun. You'll be at the Sun Valley Lodge next weekend, I said. You're coming from Austria to Sun Valley? I mean, the routing from Vienna to Ketchum was probably not ideal under the best of circumstances. The Laugh was almost 90 years old. In fact, what with high mountains and erratic weather, it was hard enough just to get there from the next state. What on earth was he thinking? Laugh, much as I'd love to see you after all these years, I don't think that's very sensible, I told him. Besides, I have missed a week of work already because of the funeral. I'm not sure I can get away. My darling, said Laugh, the question you want to ask me, I believe I know what it is. And also, I know the answer. So please be there. And we're going to stop there. Interesting. I didn't know. I mean, this is historical fiction, so I don't know if that's a fact or not, but I certainly didn't know that international calls maybe are recorded. Oh, I did not know that. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.